Imagine a military briefing in 1932. A decorated major stands before a map of Western Australia, discussing battle tactics with his soldiers. They're armed with Lewis machine guns, the same weapons that dominated World War I battlefields. But their enemy isn't a foreign army. It's not even human. Their enemy is birds. This is the absolutely true story of how the Australian military went to war against emus and lost. Yes, you heard that right. One of the most bizarre military operations in history, where trained soldiers with automatic weapons were defeated by large, flightless birds.
To understand how Australia ended up declaring war on birds, we need to go back to the aftermath of World War I. After the Great War ended in 1918, Australia faced a unique challenge. Thousands of veterans returned home, many struggling to reintegrate into civilian life. The government's solution? Give them land. Between 1915 and 1920, the Australian government allocated vast parcels of marginal farmland in Western Australia to returning soldiers, particularly around Campion and Walgoolan. These ex-soldiers were promised prosperity. Farm the land, the government said, grow wheat, and you'll build a new life. But nobody told them about the emus. Western Australia had always been home to the emu, Australia's largest native bird, standing up to 6 feet tall, weighing up to 60 kilograms, and capable of running at speeds of 50 kilometers per hour. These weren't your average birds. Emus had survived in the harsh Australian outback for millions of years. They were tough, intelligent, and absolutely fearless.
By 1932, the Great Depression had hit Australia hard. Wheat prices had collapsed. The soldier-settlers were already struggling to survive when nature threw them another curveball. That year, following their usual breeding season, an estimated 20,000 emus began migrating from inland Australia toward the coast, directly through the farming districts of Western Australia. But this wasn't just a migration, it was an invasion. Farmer George Pierce would later describe the scene. They came like a dark wave across the horizon, thousands upon thousands of them, moving through our wheat fields like a plague. The emus discovered something wonderful. Cultivated wheat was much easier to eat than native plants. They knocked down fences meant for rabbits, allowing rabbits to invade and cause even more damage. They consumed and spoiled the crops. They contaminated water supplies. James Mitchell, a farmer in Campion, lost his entire season's crop in just 3 days. We watched years of work disappear into the bellies of those cursed birds. He wrote in a letter to the government, "We're not just losing money, we're losing everything." By October 1932, the situation was desperate. The ex-soldier farmers had already survived one war, but now they faced economic ruin. A delegation of farmers, led by a former soldier named Pete McCarty, marched to Perth to demand government action. The farmers' plea reached the office of Sir George Pierce, the Minister of Defense. Pierce, who had earned the unfortunate nickname Minister of Disasters for his handling of various crises, saw an opportunity. "These men serve their country," Pierce declared in Parliament. "Now their country will serve them." His solution was unprecedented. Deploy the military. On October 14, 1932, Pierce officially approved military operations against the emu population. The mission would be led by Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery, along with Sergeant S. McMurray and Gunner J. O'Halloran. Their arsenal? 2 Lewis machine guns capable of firing 500 rounds per minute, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, and a military truck. The same weapons that had mowed down enemy soldiers in the trenches of France would now be turned against birds.
Major Meredith was confident. In an interview with the Perth Daily News, he stated, "These birds are just animals. How hard could it be? We have military training and automatic weapons. This will be over in days." The media loved it. Newspapers across Australia began calling it the Emu War. Some journalists embedded with the troops, ready to document what they assumed would be an easy victory. The rules of engagement were simple. Soldiers would provide their expertise and weapons, while the farmers would provide food and accommodation. It seemed like a perfect solution.
November 2, 1932, day one of the Great Emu War. Major Meredith and his men set up their position near Campion. Local farmers had reported a group of 50 emus spotted near a dam. The soldiers prepared an ambush. The plan was simple: wait for the birds to gather, then open fire. But the emus had other plans. As the soldiers prepared to fire, the emus scattered. These birds, it turned out, had an uncanny ability to sense danger. They split into small groups and ran in different directions. The soldiers managed to kill only a handful before their targets disappeared into the bush. Day 2 brought hope. The military spotted a group of approximately 1,000 emus near a dam. Major Meredith ordered his men to hold fire until the birds were at point-blank range. "Wait, wait," Meredith whispered as the emus approached. At 100 meters, he gave the order, "Fire!" The Lewis gun roared to life, but after only 12 birds fell, the gun jammed. By the time the soldiers fixed it, the remaining emus had fled. They seemed to have learned from the attack. Witnesses reported seeing the birds posting sentries who watched for danger while others fed. By day 3, the soldiers tried a new tactic. They mounted one of the Lewis guns on the back of their truck, creating a mobile weapons platform. The idea was to chase the emus and fire at them like a drive-by shooting. It was a disaster. The truck couldn't match the emu's speed and agility. The birds zigzagged across the rough terrain while the truck bounced violently. Gunner O'Halloran later said it was like trying to shoot butterflies from a roller coaster. Impossible! As the days passed, something remarkable became clear. The emus were adapting. Farmer James O'Brien observed, "It's like they had their own military strategy. They would send out scouts. When they heard the trucks coming, they'd disperse. They learned the range of the guns and stayed just beyond it." Major Meredith himself admitted in his field report, "The emus have proved that they are not so stupid as they are usually considered to be. Each mob has its leader, always an enormous black-plumed bird standing fully 6 feet high, who keeps watch while his fellows busy themselves with the wheat. At the first suspicious sign, he gives the signal, and dozens of heads stretch up out of the crop. A few birds will take flight, the rest run, breaking into small units that make them difficult to target." The newspapers began to mock the operation. The headline in the Sydney Morning Herald read, "Emu War, Birds 1, Humans 0." One particularly embarrassing incident occurred on November 8th. The soldiers had used a significant portion of their ammunition, 2,500 rounds, but the confirmed emu casualties were estimated at only 50 birds. That's 50 bullets per bird killed. In military terms, this was an absolutely terrible ratio. An ornithologist named Dominic Cerventi, who was observing the operation, noted, "The Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics, and its unwieldy army soon split up into small units that made use of the military equipment uneconomic."
By November 8, 1932, just 6 days after the war began, Major Meredith was ordered to withdraw. The operation was becoming a public relations nightmare. International newspapers were ridiculing Australia. The London Times wrote, "Australia faces defeat in the Emu War." In the House of Representatives, the opposition was brutal.
One member of parliament sarcastically suggested awarding medals to the emus, saying, "They faced machine guns with the bravery of the Light Horse Brigade at Beersheba." But the farmers weren't giving up. The emus continued their assault on the crops. By November 12th, the situation had become so dire that Premier James Mitchell personally appealed to Minister Pierce for resumption of military operations. On November 13th, Major Meredith returned to the field with new tactics. This time, he would be more methodical. No more chasing. Instead, they would stake out water points and wait. This proved slightly more effective. Over the next month, Meredith reported that his men had used 9,860 rounds and killed approximately 986 emus, roughly 10 bullets per bird. He claimed that 2,500 more birds had died from injuries, though this was never verified. By December 10, 1932, Major Meredith and his men withdrew for the final time. The Great Emu War was over.
So, who won the Great Emu War? In his final military report, Major Meredith claims success, stating that 986 emus had been confirmed killed and that the operation had dispersed the emu population. But the farmers told a different story. The emus returned almost immediately after the military left. The long-term solution came not from bullets, but from better fences. In 1953, the Australian government completed a 1,100-mile fence to keep emus out of agricultural areas. It worked far better than machine guns ever did. The Great Emu War became a piece of Australian folklore, a story told with a mixture of embarrassment and humor. But it also taught valuable lessons. Major Meredith himself would later say, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks." The emus, meanwhile, thrived. Their population today is healthy and stable. In a way, they did win the war. They survived everything the Australian military could throw at them and continued living as they had for millions of years.
The Great Emu War of 1932 remains one of history's strangest military operations. It's a story that seems too bizarre to be true. A modern military force defeated by birds. But perhaps the real lesson isn't about military tactics or agricultural policy. It's about humanity's relationship with nature. The ex-soldiers who became farmers were trying to impose their will on an ancient landscape. The emus were simply being emus, following migration patterns encoded in their DNA over millennia. Today, a bronze statue in the town of Waggan commemorates the Great Emu War, not with a soldier, but with a giant emu. Because in the end, nature won. The emus are still there, still running free across the Australian outback, perhaps still remembering the time when humans thought they could defeat them with machines of war. As one veteran of the Emu War later said, "We thought we were fighting birds. Turns out we were fighting Australia itself. And Australia doesn't lose."